my favorite day of the week. Y ya ustedes están cansados of hearing the same thing every week, pero a mí no me importa because Tuesday is always my favorite day of the week because I get to be on screen with amazing people dealing with amazing topics and just listening to all of you guys who are out there, who interact with my guests, who ask amazing questions and keep the convo flowing. So thank you. Welcome back to another edition of Love Shouldn't Hurt with this loud Boricua who's always screaming. I hope that wakes you up if you're half asleep. But I am here, I am excited, and I'm ready to go. Tonight is a super important topic. I thought that it was important that tonight we share resources because there are plenty of people who are seeking resources and like myself during that time have no idea that there are so many out there. So as we always do, remember, if someone that you love, someone that you cherish, a friend, a family, even a foe, you know is dealing with some form of domestic violence, have them reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. They can reach us at all of our social media platforms. But as I often say, if it is an emergency, if you need immediate help and we have not replied to you yet, always reach out to 911 in the case of an emergency. The last time we were on this screen, I was joined by the beautiful, infamous Evelyn Ramos, and we discussed red flags, which is another super important topic, especially for people who are dealing with domestic violence. Sometimes we do not realize the red flags, and it is super important to know. But tonight, we are discussing limited resources in the mindset of those who are being abused. We're always fearful of leaving for different reasons. And most times, a lot of domestic violence victims do not leave because they're fearful that there are no resources out there. But tonight, I will prove to you that there are loads of help. There are loads of resources, especially in our own community, by some Fierra Latinas who are going to join us and tell us about their amazing organizations. Hello, Carmen. Thank you for being here tonight. Another amazing queen. Before we speak to those organizations and those representatives, we're going to talk to someone who was dealing with domestic violence. And my girl, she was awarded at our gala this year for our Survivor Award because, yes, Miss Gabriella Guzman is a survivor of domestic violence. She said no mas to her situation, and she is now living her best life and doing so much better. So she is going to talk to us tonight, and she's going to talk to us about her fear of leaving without resources. So with no further ado, thank you so much. Let's welcome Gabriella Guzman. Hey, boo.
Hey, thank you.
How are you, Fierra? How are you tonight?
Good. How are you?
I'm loud, proud, and just, my normal crazy self. So I'm good.
I know. I love it. I love it. I'm excited to be here.
Thanks for being here. So tonight's topic I think is super important, and I reached out to you because you're someone who most recently I know has left your situation. So I thought it was good to have someone who just came out of this situation and who can relate to tonight's topic. For myself, when I was dealing with domestic violence, oh my goodness, 20 years ago, before I had my daughter, I literally thought there was no one who could help. I thought there was no community out there, so I did it by myself. Hopefully tonight, with what it is that we're talking about and the people who are on and yourself talking to us about your experiences, maybe someone who's watching will now know that there are resources. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Gabriella. People watching don't know everything. I do, but they do not. So tell us about your history of domestic violence and how you decided to get your way out of that situation.
Yes. So I was involved with somebody since I was 16 years old. I got married to him at 18. So I was with him for a total of 8 years, married for 7.5. And the abuse started pretty much, I want to say maybe a year or a little over a year into the relationship. A lot of verbal abuse, then it got physical, definitely emotional abuse, financial abuse, even sexual abuse came in between. And it wasn't until I had my kids that I really started seeing for myself that I didn't want to live this cycle of abuse anymore. I grew up in the same type of household where I saw my parents hit each other. And I just didn't want that for my children. So it wasn't until I had them that they really gave me the courage and the strength that I needed to move forward. But it was not easy. I left 10, 15 times before I actually really left.
Yeah.
So the final time it was tough, but I am happy to be where I'm at now. I am living, like you said, my best life. So thank you for pointing that out. And yeah, that's it.
Awesome. Sometimes when we tell those stories, we talk about how we leave 10, 15 times and people are like, que tonta. She must have liked it. She must have enjoyed it. And they don't realize the complications that come with being abused and kind of like, what it takes to step out. I can't
Right.
even, I tell parents who call me and they're worried about their kids. I tell friends who call me and they're worried about their kids and they're ready to just give up on them. And they're like,
Mhm.
I tried to help her 10, 15 times y todavía no se va. I got her out of the house. She stayed with me for 2 weeks. She was doing good and she went back. And they're
Yeah.
ready to write these people off and like, I'm done with this relationship. I'm done with these friendships. I'm done with these family members because they get frustrated. They lose their patience with them. And I have to continue to remind them that it's a process. A lot of mental abuse, a lot of manipulation. And, you do leave and you feel, oh, I'm strong and you feel great. But they also have to know that when you leave, that's the hardest part. They say
Yes.
living through it is the hardest part, right? That's not the hardest part. The
Mm.
hardest part is leaving and staying gone. Because
Yep.
what we do as human beings, whether we're women or we're men, we start to think of the positive things, the fun times
Mhm.
we had together, the good things, the times he said, I'm sorry, the times he brought me flowers, and we don't want to leave. Right. So we leave and we're sitting at somebody else's house and we're uncomfortable. We're laying on their sofa. We got to tiptoe because it's someone else's house. And we're thinking, I could just be home. And like,
Yes.
I don't even need to be uncomfortable at someone else's house. Like, it's not that bad. I can
Right.
deal with it. It'll get better, but they don't realize what it takes. So the fact that you said 10, 15 times, I'm glad that you said that. And I'm glad every time guests say that because I want people to know that it is a process and sometimes it is years long. And until you have drawn the line in the sand and finally say, I'm done, there's nothing that can be, done or helpful to you until you want that. Tell me about your feelings of resources at that time. Did you feel like there was people you could reach out to? Did you know of anything in the community at all?
No, so unfortunately I did not. I actually found out about Love Shouldn't Hurt after I left my abuser. So I think about 2 months I had left him officially. And it was great then that I found it. So I really wish I would have found it sooner. Unfortunately, I just feel like it's really not a spoken about thing. It wasn't amongst my friends or family or anything like
Mm,
that. So I really kind of felt isolated and embarrassed at that moment.
yeah.
And I honestly didn't even think to kind of research things. I know the police, I had a lot of PFAs involved, so
Mm,
they were trying to give me as many resources as possible.
mhm.
But even then, I just kind of felt really alone. So at the time, no, I did not have the support that I needed.
Yeah. So, what do you think? And all of this is pretty much just, I think, I guess, because we don't know, what your mindset was at that time. And honestly, you can't think of what you would have or could have or any of that because you're out of the situation now. You're no longer there. But during that time, what do you think do you think that if you found not just myself but even some of these organizations that are going to be here today, if you think that you would have had them at that time, do you feel as though it would have helped you a little bit more to like kind of get out of your situation if you felt like you had those resources?
Absolutely, 100%.
Okay, good. That's awesome. Hi, Debbie. Thank you for joining us tonight. We love you. Thanks for watching. I think that it's important. And because of that, we're going to continue to talk about your story throughout the night so that people can understand where you're coming from and see your point of view. But we are going to bring on a beautiful woman. We were just talking to her, and she's so beautiful. She is our first guest who is joining us from one of the community organizations in Philadelphia. So I know people are watching us from different places. I have a friend from Chicago who watches. I have people from New York and New Jersey. She is from an organization in the Pennsylvania area that works with all sorts of victims, not just domestic violence victims. She so happens to work for the company that is actually my fiduciary contact. So they are my partner. We work very closely together, hand in hand. And I am excited to bring her on so that she can discuss their programs and resources so that it can help those who are watching know that there are items out there. So we're going to welcome Ms. Wilma Lebron from Concilio on from their Victim Witness Services program. Hello, mi amor.
Hey, hello, hello.
Hello, how are you? I
Well,
I asked everybody for bios, and then I said, no, let them explain who they are because nobody can explain themselves better than the person themselves. So, Wilma, this is the floor.
okay.
Tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. First of all, thanks for having me. Thanks for having us. It's very important to be on these platforms and talk to the community firsthand as to what we can offer. I am. I come from Camden, New Jersey, so right across the river. I'm a transplant and have found myself in the family of Concilio since 2018
Mhm.
and worked within North Philadelphia as soon as I came over within Victim Witness Services. Our department works with other crimes, so that goes from simple assault all the way over to homicide.
Mhm.
And just recently, we've been really dipping our toe in the water of intimate partner violence, right? Like, what does that mean? Because it comes up in very different forms. We have amazing relationships with our sister agency, like Congreso, WA, WAR, and great relationships with our victim advocate officers at each district. We service the East District. So that's the 24th, 25th, and 26th police districts encompassing East Division. And we are able to service those community members in both English and Spanish. And then we also provide other abilities if they are from speaking from a different language as well. We have a partnership with Language Line to make sure that they're getting services in languages that is their native language, so that they understand all of their rights. And that's the main thing that we drive. You have rights as a victim, you have rights, and we're going to be the one to connect you to those rights.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Well, I'm excited to have you here because we have this partnership with one another. So it's awesome to always have someone on the screen who is familiar with what it is that we're doing. And Concilio and I have grown this partnership over the past 2 years, and it's done nothing but blossom. So I'm excited to have you here since we are in a partnership together. Tell us how you could service some of our domestic violence victims.
Absolutely. So we have an amazing program for relocation and emergency funds. And this dual program assists our DV victims already at one of the most dangerous times, which is when you leave, right? You all have spoken about it takes 10, 15 times. It takes 10, 15 times because it's the most dangerous time when you decide I'm going to get up. And it's also the scariest because at this moment, the abuser has isolated you completely from family, friends, and resources. Yeah. And we're here to assist. We have a relocation program. We assist with the crime first has to happen in Philadelphia, and it has to be reported. And that's the hardest. A lot of the times our clients are like, I can't do that. And I'm like, I will walk you with it. We're conveniently located down the street from 24th and 25th districts. So we will go with them, and we will be that advocate with them on hand to make sure that they're reporting that crime. Then moving forward from there, we're able to relocate them in that space. They get a maximum benefit of up to $2,000. They do the legwork and looking at what defines safety for them. They get to move within the city, out the county, or outside of the state. So that's their decision right then and there. And we coordinate with their new landlord, tenant, and saying, hey, we respect their absolute rights. We never let them know that they're a victim. We simply state that we're housing assistants, and then we coordinate so that we can pay their new landlord that security deposit and get them up and running. So that's one of the main reasons. And then we also have our emergency funds for those clients that are not ready in a space to move, because our relocation program has some qualifiers. They need to have income. And as we all know, abusers like to do financial abuse as well. Yeah. So we have an emergency funds program where we will get them resources, and it can cover anything from food, those hygiene needs that's right there in the moment. I mean, when you literally leave with your clothes on your back and your children in hand, and you didn't decide to take anything. So we're able to encompass all of that in that moment. And get them those certain things right then and there, and make sure that they're provided for safety.
Wow, that was a mouthful, and it was a lot of important information. So I hope that people that are watching, I see the numbers going up and down. I told a few folks to watch tonight because I thought it was super important to find these resources, and I told them to come with a pen and paper.
Absolutely.
I think that it's phenomenal what you guys do. I love the fact that I'm able to, whenever I see a client that I think needs help, able to just say, hold on, let me get a referral form and send you over to Concilio. And I take pride in that because you guys and I have that partnership. So I love to be able to say, go over to my peeps. Everybody wants to feel supported and feel safe. And I think that that's the biggest thing that myself, when I was going through abuse, I didn't feel that I had. And again, like Gabriella, I didn't know that there were services out there. To myself, it was just because he, was just isolating me, as you most perfectly stated. I thought that there were no supports for people like me. No one talked about domestic violence. In stepping into this role, I've learned that now. People come to me and they talk to me and they're just like, we love what you do. And I'm like, okay, like I don't, to me, when I first started it, I'll say that. Of course, now I see how major it is. But at the time, I was just like, oh, I'm just doing what I felt was natural. And as I've gone on, we're going now into our 4th year, I realize how no one talks about domestic violence. So when people come to me and they say, oh my God, I love what you're doing, I realize, the cross that I truly bear, because this is something that people definitely need, and they need to see a familiar face. I am always transparent on the screen. I'm always my loud, normal, goofy self, because I also want people to see, that I'm approachable. If they need help, they can come to me. I'm not going to be intimidating. And I've been in their shoes. There's been so many times where I was like, I don't know what to do. So I stayed and I stayed. 6 years later, it took a lot for me to finally leave. So Wilma, I see in the context, Concilio is telling us how to contact you, but let me
Absolutely.
know, what is the process for how they can get a referral? Like, what do they have to do?
For
People have
sure.
been coming to me, but what do they have to do with you if they don't have me as a middleman?
Right. So if they're not coming through a sister agency or a partnership like yourselves, they can call the 215-627-3100. I'm at extension 208. You will get me directly. We have about 24 hours of contact time. So if I don't get you within that business day, first thing in the morning, you're my phone call. I'm having that conversation with you. We do an intake, especially now with COVID. We're not wasting time with having you come into the office. We're doing that intake right over the phone, to make sure that we're getting all of those vital documents right then and there. And we're assessing what the situation is and what the need is. So, for instance, if it's a relocation situation, a lot of times our clients are super prepared. They're like, I've been looking. I just heard that there was assistance with you. What do I need to do, right? What is that connection piece? So we do the intake. And then if the client has already been doing the legwork, we then connect them with what the program can be done for them. Then if it's not one of those situations where they haven't been looking, I address the entire program, let them know about the max and benefit, let them know where they can go look for a place, right? Because a lot of the times the people are like, well, how do I feel safe if I'm still in Philadelphia? Because when you're a victim, as big as Philly is, it can be very small. When you have been victimized and you've been abused, you feel safe nowhere. And so that light of hope is when I let them know you don't have to stay in Philly. You can move about within other counties or without other states. And that relief enters their lives. Like, okay, then you start to see them dream a little bit. Well, I have been thinking about what it would be like to live in Connecticut or live here and live there. And it's just like, okay, let's walk you through that process. Let them know that they do have a certain amount of time. We have 6 months to get you relocated as per our funders. But our clients move fast and they're able to make those moves. The one little caveat that kind of burns a little bit, we do not have listings, unfortunately, for our clients. So if they come with that expectation, unfortunately, we do not have. We want the client, like I said, you have to define what safety now looks for you. Yeah. I can't define that for you. I can definitely work with you. But unfortunately, this is the first time a client is being able to think, okay, where do I want to stand? Where do my children feel safe? Where do I go? Sometimes I need to go back to where my support system was, right? And it may not even be here in Philadelphia. And so that ability to do that, we're able to partner with the client and move forward. So they can call themselves or they can just get a referral through one of our partnerships.
Amazing, amazing. So we can catch you at Concilio. Once again, put that number up for us. And extension 208. So if you guys want to connect with Wilma Lebron, she is at Concilio. 215-627-3100, extension 208. Gabriela, if you had these services back then, would you feel a little bit more comfortable about all of this?
Yeah. Actually, I didn't even know about any of this, so this is informative to me now too. Amazing, really amazing, and I really wish I would have known.
Absolutely.
No problem. I wanted to address one of the comments. There's a question about counseling. We do have a new partnership coming up at Concilio with Centers for Family, or CFAR for short. They will be starting counseling with trauma-informed counseling at the end of February. So the same way that you would refer for a regular intimate partner violence referral, you can call that same number and we will be able to refer you to that counseling service as well. And they will be doing it bilingually.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you for being here with us, Wilma. We're going to go off the screen really, really quickly. Just give us your contact info again, how we can reach you, and we will say goodnight to you. Thank you so much, Wilma.
No problem. Again, the 208 extension is the most important part. And you can reach me there. And then You can also call my phone number, which is 215-824-7752. That is my work cell phone number that stays with me. If you can't reach me through the office number, which is the extension, please definitely leave me a voicemail at the 215-824-7752 number, and I will get back to you. Sometimes that one's a little easier because that's a cell phone and I can text back and have that conversation with you. So please, if you are looking for help, we will definitely be able to bridge those gaps and those connections. The worst thing that we can say is we don't offer it, but we can help you see who does and connect you to those services.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Wilma. I look forward to speaking with you further. We have a meeting on Thursday, so I'll see you
Yes,
then.
we do.
Have a good night. Thank you so much
You
for being with
too.
us.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Woohoo! So I'm loving it, and I'm seeing all of my guests in the green room. So we're going to continue. I'm going to bring Gabriella back so that we can have a few moments to chat, and then we're going to bring on our next agency who provides lots of services and resources as well in the Pennsylvania area. Gabriella, you feeling good?
I am, yes.
You just left this domestic violence relationship. Has it been a year already yet?
Yes, it was a year in October.
Awesome. Ooh, October around our gala, and you got your awards.
Yes.
You was like feeling
I
it.
know. It was great. It was fire.
Awesome. I'm so proud of you. And I don't know if I've said that to you, but I'm telling you that when I saw you post, the pictures of your bruises and you told your story, I had like a proud mommy moment because you had always reached out to me and you spoke to me and told me about how you felt about our organization. But just seeing you step out on faith and allowing yourself to just be that transparent with Facebook and like people, seeing what you went through. So I'm super, super proud of you. I'm so glad that you have connected with us and I'm glad that you're a part of us. We're going to bring on the next organization so that we can hear what they have to say. I want you to keep paying attention to all of the information because I'm telling you, it's good information, people, if you're listening. So we are bringing on another amazing organization. This lady is another beautiful lady who I have connected to in the past. She works for Congreso de Latinos. I used to work there too, so it's my old stomping grounds. She is working with the Latina Domestic Violence Program. So we're going to welcome Kira Balelolio. I think I said that correctly, but she'll correct me if not. Let's welcome Kira. Hi, mi amor. You're muted. You got to unmute.
Hi. Thank you.
Correct.
Balolio.
Balolio. Okay.
Casi.
I've ruined it. How are you this evening?
I'm great. I am here. I am a mommy, so there's background noise, but we're gonna make it work.
That's okay.
That's all good.
So I had told Wilma that I had asked everybody for their bios and like I wanted to sit here and give you guys your flowers, but I'm like, if I try to just sit here and like explain who you people are, I will not do you justice because we can only do as much justice as we could to ourselves. So I want you to tell us, Kira, who you are and what it is that you do at Congreso, and tell us a little bit about your history and how you ended up with the Latina Domestic Violence Program.
Yeah. So I've been with Congreso about 8 years now. I started off in the Latina Domestic Violence Program. I actually came back to it because it's been my passion. It's been my passion for a long time. I came to start serving, DV survivors while I was in law school, actually. I always say, this working for a domestic violence program, honestly, is what brought me purpose. And seeing, the actual impact of justice is what made me finish law school because I was struggling. Like, that's what gave me the drive to be able to motivate. And I started out as a legal advocate. So I was in the courthouse translating, being an emotional support for survivors. And I started that work out in Michigan. So working in rural and safety planning and everything looks just so different than being here in an urban space. So when I graduated law school, I came back. I worked in a different kind of field for a little bit, and then my heart just wasn't there. So I came back to DV services and lucky enough to find Congreso, which for a long time has been the only culturally specific DV program in the state. So we've been so lucky that recently, more programs are recognizing like we need to address it in an intentional way. We need to talk about when we're safety planning for domestic violence. It's a little bit different when you're talking to a group of Latinos, a group of Asians, a group of, everybody has their own kind of different ways of isolating, of abusing, and cultural norms. And having a space where you can interact with people that are going to speak your language and appreciate and safety plan in ways that are going to be meaningful, that's the space that we're hoping to provide. So at the Latina Domestic Violence Program, we welcome folks of all genders. It's not just Latinas. Actually, we've been seeing a lot of male survivors coming through, especially now that we have legal services. We know that when the police respond, they always kind of make assumptions based off of genders. So we try to make sure that we're a resource to everybody. All the staff is bilingual, so I think that's something that when you're coming into the space, you get to see, hey, I can kind of Spanglish it up as much as I want. I'm going to be welcome. I'm going to be understood. I'm going to be here in my space. And I think I'll list off the list of services, but in hearing Gabriella's story, one of the things that we don't really talk about is the impact of trauma in the brain in that moment when you're fleeing, right? And that, think about a report that you might do at work, right? That you do every day. Now think about trying to do that report when you just had a car accident, because that's basically what you're asking this person to do, right? You're asking them, hey, tell me to do like your everyday during a car accident. And that's where an advocate comes in and helps support and tell you, these are the things you might want to think about, right? When you're going to be navigating these resources when you come out, let's talk about it. And I think the most important resource that we're able to provide is that safety planning. And that's something that I push on everybody. I can list down, again, the list of resources that we have available at Congreso, but I think the most valuable one is being able to safety plan with a DV advocate. A DV advocate has certain protections by law where we're going to be safe spaces. I can't just go and speak to anybody without your expressed and written consent. So we can have hypothetical conversations about, hey, how is this going to impact my kids? How is this going to impact my job? How is this going to impact, my relationship with my family? And those are the places where you can have those conversations. All of our services are free and confidential. We offer counseling to adults, individual counseling, and we also have a Spanish language support group that operates on a weekly basis. And those women, they're amazing because they're the biggest resource to making sure that if you're looking for housing, especially if I'm working with someone who's undocumented, those ladies hook it up, right? In ways that I probably, I'm not going to be able to navigate because I just don't know those resources that are live in that moment.
Yeah.
And they do, right? We're also one of the agencies that has counseling for children who have witnessed domestic violence. I think that's another really difficult part as a parent to see, even a year later, 2-3 years later, now you're seeing your kids be in their own relationships or just starting to talk about some of the things that they may have seen or how it made them felt. And we support not just the kid, but the parent, right? How do we give language to the parent to be able to validate, to be able to give space to still love their other partner who acted abusively and still have that relationship in a healthy space? We offer housing supports, emergency all the way to supportive housing, right? So if you've already been out of your situation for some time and you got income, but we know that the impact of economic abuse can be so long lasting, especially if they've ruined your credit, right? You've been bankrupt, all that stuff. You still need support. Even if it's not in that emergency leaving, you still need support to be able to get out. We have, like I mentioned, we have clinical services. So we do have an on-site therapist. She's bilingual. She'll support you. Again, if you have been connected in any way for the OHS system, she's there to kind of make that linkage. We also have an attorney on staff, and she helps support with the family law needs of immigrant survivors. Very scarce resource. There's not a lot of it. And my colleague's going to come on Women Against Abuse. She'll talk about, other kind of legal resources around the city, but we try to make sure not to overlap with each other because we know that the resources are so scarce. And we just want to make sure that as long as you connect with an advocate, I'm in constant communication with my sister DV agencies, right? So if you're not going to be able to have the need met at Congreso, that's okay. That's not my goal. My goal is safety.
Yeah.
So we're going to make that connection.
Yes, absolutely. Gabriella, I got a question for you. I see you shaking your head.
I like what she's saying.
During your time of abuse, it's been very recent, and I know that you have a child. Is this something that you think you would utilize? Would you utilize the services for your child? Could you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Yeah, okay. You
Yeah, I
heard
can
me,
hear
Gabriella?
you. I think she froze up.
Oh, she froze. Oh,
Yeah.
hopefully she'll come back. I think that that's important. I asked that because I think it's important. I think she's there. Is she moving?
I'm here.
This is what happens when you're live, people. Se pone un poquito crazy sometimes.
I'm back. I'm back. I don't know what happened.
No. So my question just was, is this something that you feel you would utilize for your child, the services for the kids? Because I saw you shake your head.
Absolutely. I'm probably going to get with Kira after the show because I've been struggling. It's really crazy to me that there's really not a lot of mental health resources for children, not only just for people who've been abused and in abusive relationships, but children who have witnessed trauma. It's so hard. I've been trying for a year, so this is really helpful information.
Awesome. I hope that everyone that is watching, if you are needed for any of this information, that you have that bolígrafo y un papel. And remember that you can go back to the show and watch later and on YouTube because it's super, super important, people. And the reason why we're doing tonight's show is because of that. There are so many people like myself and Gabriella, when we were going through our abuse, who really felt like there was no one out there who could help us. So this is super important information. So before we go into anything else, Kira, tell us how they can contact you. Tell us what the referral process looks like, what they have to do to get help, and tell us like social media or anything that they can do so that they can contact Congreso so that they can find that. And it's just the CO. Sorry, people, I always confuse the two. I'm terrible. So that they can contact Congreso and get all of the help that they can. I love, that you guys have this Latina domestic violence. I just like I said with Wilma, it's just astounding to me that so much help is out there, and I had no idea when I was going through it. So I think that that's why it's super important tonight for people to know there are multitudes of help. If we, just like Wilma said, if we cannot do exactly what you need, and Kira said the same thing, we will make sure that we find the appropriate organization or companies because it is about your safety. And I say that all the time. People contact me and sometimes I feel like, oh, I don't know if I have that specific, resource. I will push them on to the next agency. It is about your services. So Kira, back to you. Tell us how they can contact you, what the referral process is or the intake process is for them, and let them know how they can find any information on your program.
Yeah. So you're going to want to contact our crisis line, which is the 215-763-8870, extension 13. So that first part is the Congreso main number, and then our extension 1300. That's how you're going to be able to connect with the DV crisis counselor, specifically at Congreso. Now, you can always call the Philadelphia DV hotline. We are also one of the folks in agencies that answers. So we are there Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., also answering that hotline. So like I mentioned, if we don't have the resource, we'll be able to connect with a sister agency or another way to make sure that you're able to get those needs met. Now, the best way, like I mentioned, is calling our 1300 extension line. We are offering some in-person support. I know right now it's looking a little bit different agency to agency, but Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we are on site. And we're not just necessarily offering that support counseling, but we're also giving a safe space so that if you need a safe space to make a police report, if you need a safe space to call your attorney, right? Those are things that we're looking to offer to survivors, especially right now that we know that isolation and is impacting folks in different ways. And folks are parents, right? So they're having to navigate this in different schedules. And like always, we're safety planning around that. One of the things that I want to mention is we're actually recruiting right now for our support group for kids who have witnessed domestic violence. So if you have a kid age 8 through 12, and they're interested in just getting to know other kids, the first thing that we do is we talk with the parents first. We can let them know, hey, this is what you're going to expect. This is the curriculum. This is what we're going to talk about. So that way you're engaged in part of that safety planning as well. But like I mentioned, there's the DV hotline that's 24 hours. And we will always be able to answer in any language because language line is available if Congreso is not on the phone and available to speak in Spanish. And then you can call Congreso Monday through Friday from 8 to 5 p.m.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Kira. We appreciate you taking out your time. I know you're on mommy mode. I am too. I have my door closed just in case so my daughter doesn't come in, but I get it. But thank you so much for sharing your information about Congreso. Again, folks, if you're watching, just know that you can also go back and watch a recap. You can also watch us on YouTube. I think it's very important information. Remember, we spoke with Wilma Lebron from the Victim Witness Services over at Concilio, and now Kiera, I'm going to ruin her name again, Belolio. I
Thanks,
said it right.
Spaghettio. Belolio. There you go.
Belolio. Congreso. I think that it's important that we know that those resources are out there. So if you didn't get the information, no te preocupes. We're going to go back after the show. You can go back and watch. Thank you so much, Kira, for joining us. We appreciate you spending your time with us tonight. Good night. So, folks, it is that time. It is the half point of our show. I'm going to do as I always do, remind folks why we are here. If you or someone that you know is dealing with any form of domestic violence, make sure that you reach out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 1-800-799-7233. You can reach myself and my team at loveshouldnothurt.com on the internet or any of our social media platforms. But remember, as I always say, that if you need immediate assistance, call 911. We're going to bring Gabriella back so that we have a short discussion about what she's heard so far and how she feels as a survivor. But then we're closing our show with an amazing Fierra who just got an amazing new promotion, and she's been rocking it, let's just be honest, in Philadelphia for years doing what she does. So we're going to bring her on because she has an important role at a very important organization for what it is that we do. So let's bring Gabriella back so that together we can welcome our final guest. How you feeling, my love bucket?
I'm feeling good. This is very helpful information.
It is. And I think that, both you and I went through the same thing. We thought there were no resources. We thought there was nothing that could help us. I see you as people are talking like, So I know, hopefully you have your pluma, your pen, your bolígrafo.
I do.
You're writing. Because, listen, I was someone who went through my abuse before I had my daughter. And then the abuse continued until she was 4 years old, and I wasn't even with, the person anymore. But those are things that she witnessed and that she remembers. And I believe that it's a trauma impact that continues. She's 14 now, and there's lots of times where her and I have discussions, and I'm like, man, I wish that back then, I thought of therapy and things of that nature. But she's a phenomenal young lady. She's doing great. And I am not against therapy. My daughter is a phenomenal young woman, but I think the resources that they have are super important for our kids, because kids who witness domestic violence, it's just something that people don't believe is there, but trauma is real, people. It is real. So, Gabriella, I hope you're getting something out of tonight's conversation. Okay,
I am. I absolutely am. This is great.
Awesome. So we're going to bring on our final guest from a very important organization in Philadelphia. Women Against Abuse has been dealing with domestic violence victims for years. And this amazing woman used to work at Congreso as their executive director, but she has just been newly promoted as the president and executive director at Women Against Abuse. So thank you so much for being here tonight with us. We are welcoming Joanna Otero Cruz. Hello, babe. You're muted.
Yeah.
There you go.
Good evening. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here. How are you in this new role? Are you enjoying what you're doing? Are you loving it?
I always say when you're doing what you love, it's not work. It's a life's mission, and I'm blessed to be in it. So thank you.
That's awesome. So I stole your bio from the internet, but like I said to everybody else, I think that I don't do as much justice to folks as they do for themselves. So tell us a little bit background about who you are, Joanna, what your work has been like up to this point, and what it is that you do now at Women Against Abuse.
Yeah, you had some of the places that I actually been employed. So the majority of my career I've worked in nonprofit. Mm-hmm. So started out at Congreso de Latinos Unidos. It was great to see Kira and all the great work that they do. And I had the privilege of leading LDVP, or Latina Domestic Violence Program at Congreso. So I know the wonderful people they are there, full of compassion and empathy. And she could not have a better team. So I was happy to see her. And then I spent some time at Concilio, who you also had someone there. So great organization serving our Eastern North Philadelphia community and beyond, right, our Latino community. And I've had the privilege to work in both. And then I basically worked in the last 5-6 years almost at the city. Great opportunities there to really charge forward some, agendas for the Latino community citywide, where I had the privilege to work with a lot of different communities throughout the city, specifically immigrants, refugees, asylees, working within the managing director's office. So again, very, very privileged to have had that opportunity. And then most recently in November, I started at Women Against Abuse. As you've already mentioned, is an organization that's been around for 45 years, serving survivors of domestic violence and intimate partner violence. It is the organization that has the only safe havens, oftentimes referred to as shelters, in the city of Philadelphia, where we have them in confidential locations. As already mentioned, safety is a paramount and is the number one priority for all domestic violence agencies. So we meet people where they are, and it's their story, it's their journey, and we're just really truly there to be there, non-judgmental, and really support them through that process, which we know looks very different for everyone. So thank you, Gabriella. I hope to go back to the beginning of the program to hear your story, but just wanted to tell you that you're courageous. You're absolutely courageous. It is not easy to leave any situation or to make those life-changing decisions. So I look forward to hearing your story. But again, I applaud your efforts in building awareness around domestic violence, and that there is resources. And Christina, to you, as always, your voice in la comunidad is extremely appreciated, because we need programs like this so that we break down those barriers with people fearing, or not knowing. But there's a lot of fear because we judge. People are judgmental. And so people oftentimes out of fear, or not wanting to let their families down, or, wanting to follow somebody's trajectory, oftentimes freeze and not sure how to proceed. And so forums like this, break down those myths and those barriers and make it okay to talk about it, and also to access support services that are available. So thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. I think your job is super important. I remember when I first had like an inkling of what you were about to do, someone said, you need to connect with Joanna. Have you ever met Joanna? And I'm like, I've seen Joanna since I was a little girl. And I know she's done a bunch of different things, but I'm glad that I know who she is in that role, because it's something that's super important. I think it's important because just like what I do, I think it's important for people who are going through DV, especially in Philadelphia, that everybody's like, it's so big. It's really that small. It's really small. And I think that even learning and growing through my organization, I realize how many people are going through it, dealing with it, and affected by it. And I think that it's easier for people to reach out and get the help when they see a familiar face and they see someone, they're like, oh my God, I know her, and they feel like I can reach out to her. So I think that it's super exciting for me to know that you're in the role that you're in, because you're a face the community knows. You're a face who's done so much. I know you've worked with the governor as well. You've played so many different roles, that I think that people will see you and be like, okay, I know her. Like I can call there. I can be safe. People say, oh, it's not a big deal. But for me, it is, because I think that during my time of abuse, I was in it for 6 years and never asked anyone for help. But I feel like if I had community organizations or people that I know that were dealing with it firsthand, I would have been a lot less fearful to reach out to folks, to get the resources, because it was like, okay, I know her. She went through what I went through. But at that time, like I stated, almost 20 years ago now, I had no idea that there were organizations like yourself, or even the ones that were shared tonight. So super important, and super excited for you for this role that you just acquired, because I'm sure that you're rocking it like everything else.
I'm really excited. But one of the things I just wanted to mention is that, you mentioned something really, really important, that sometimes you might even know someone who might be going through it, and you're not even sure how to approach them or, engage in that type of conversation, because it's so intimate, right? And so one of the things that I say to people is, one is, be a listening ear. But our hotline, with that Kira already mentioned, the citywide hotline, it's shared by 4 different agencies, so that we do have 24-hour availability. We do have access to the language line. That is also a resource for, friends and family that perhaps just want to engage in conversation, to seek support and resources, so that they are aware, so that they can share the information, because maybe that person is not ready to make the call. A lot of times when we get these calls, they're not necessarily that I'm ready to leave. Oftentimes it starts with safety planning. Oftentimes it's really about, I'm not sure, especially when we talk about the Latino community, a lot of people migrate to Philadelphia, right? And I'm not just talking about undocumented or immigrants or refugees. Definitely have great partnerships, and we work a lot with our immigrant and refugee communities. It's one of the things dear to my heart. But the reality is that there's different laws. Even think of Puerto Rico con el abandono del hogar. A lot of people think that that's real here, that exists here, that there's, people oftentimes just may have questions. And I say that's a resource for everybody, so call the hotline, ask questions, there is no silly question, but be informed so that when you are sharing and someone is ready to talk about it, you can engage in a very diplomatic, non-judgmental, but informative way too.
Yes. Yep. Awesome. So tell us the specific services. I know you said Safe Haven, but if someone calls, you already said the hotline, you said that there's Safe Havens. What specifically are other programs? Because there's so much. I know the other two places, Congreso has so many different divisions, and they have the housing, and Concilio has all of different things, but Women Against Abuse is specifically for domestic violence, intimate partners. So what specifically are resources that you guys have that can provide for the people who are watching?
That's right. Our whole mission is focused just on domestic violence and intimate partner violence. Obviously that, there's co-occurring with sexual assault, human trafficking, all of those things. Besides the Safe Havens, we also do have the Legal Center, which Kira also mentioned. Our Legal Center, we have several different programs within our Legal Center. But if you've ever had to go pay a parking ticket at a court, you get nervous. It's so difficult, even just for a parking ticket, right? So imagine you having to face someone that you were once in love with, or maybe still in love with, right? And having to be feet away from this individual. It could be very intimidating, very, very scary. Any legal matters could be complex. Yeah. So we are both in criminal court and in family court, where we both have not just legal advocates, but we also have attorneys. We have the fast track program, which means that if somebody comes in to file a protection from abuse order, there's an attorney on staff there at the court where individuals can talk to, just have consultation with, to see what's the best, path forward for that individual. Okay. Because while an individual may be getting a PFA, and that's could be the best approach, it's not always the best approach. What goes in there? Does custody go in there? Does not? There's so many different perplexities in that. Do they have assets together? Do they not? Like, are they married? Right? There's just so many different nuances. A trained family court attorney will be available to really talk and provide all the information so that individual can make an informed decision. Are they in a place where they can make it right there and then? Do they need to do it on a different time and get an extension? Yeah, there's so many different nuances. So they're present in court Monday through Thursday at family court. The legal advocates are there as well, so they can provide some additional support, because sometimes now with cell phones, you could be taking pictures, all these evidence. This person is there to really support the attorney, gather all that information, and really prep the individual before they go into court. Same thing in criminal court. If there's DHS involved, we have a DHS program also involved that works with, Health and Human Services to ensure that, again, the child's interest is also it's at the table and part of whatever negotiations are going on, or sentencing, or any of those, which I heard you guys talking about, obviously the child's needs. So the Legal Center is definitely our offices are open. We are open at 100 South Broad Street. We are located there. We do see walk-ins. We always, of course, with COVID said, if you want to make an appointment first, it's probably best, but we don't turn people away. So you can go there if, again, we understand that there are times that individuals are trying to get to us and they may not necessarily be in a position where they can schedule. They can get to us when they can get to us, and we want to be able to be available. So we have that program. We do have housing. We also have what we call Sojourner House, which is a transitional housing program. So many of our individuals, they go through our safe havens. Obviously, there's only a limited time, right? 60 to 90 days. There's a lot that needs to happen within those 60 to 90 days. Everything from, we need to find your place. Of course, safety planning, but we need to find your place, what case management services. So we do have comprehensive case management services, behavioral health services as well. We have the school programs for the kids, of course, because many of our families come with kids. And so we need to ensure that, and again, our safe havens, I should mention this, our safe havens are largely, we provide services for women, but we do have, we can accommodate all genders in one of our safe havens. So that's very, very important,
Yes.
As well as our transitional program. So, we have individual survivors who are males or LGBTQ, trans, and we can also accommodate that. So we are extremely proud of that because we think it's important, okay, that everybody gets treated with dignity, respect, and integrity. So our transitional program, we have 15 units. So you just saying 15, that's not enough. So we have a very robust housing program. So if our units are filled, we have housing opportunities. And I have to say that currently right now, I know that affordability is an issue in Philadelphia in terms of rental. And so it's very difficult to find affordable housing. And so we currently right now do have funding available to really support individuals who are transitioning. And that works in a way that individuals get case management, but also, economic development in the sense of budgeting, financing, and connection to referrals for economic opportunities, so workforce development. But there's financial support because we know you can't go from zero to paying X a month. So there is financial support up to 12 months. So again, there are resources available currently right now. In addition to that, we believe prevention is extremely important. I hear you talking about prevention all the time. We should be talking to our youth. And so we are in schools providing safer program, really talking to our youth about what's a healthy relationship and what are your negotiables and non-negotiables, right? Even at a young age, they could talk about that, right? We all have them, all right? We all have things we'll tolerate, things we will not. And we need to be okay with having those conversations because you owe it to yourself, right? No one else. And so that's part of the healthy curriculum. We started middle school and into the high schools. So, and we do, of course, professional development as well. So we're currently are the provider that provide trainings for police and DAs. So law enforcement in general, we are the provider that facilitates that, as well as behavioral health providers and substance abuse providers. So lots on education under that umbrella. We have the safe havens. I've mentioned the hotline, our legal center, our transitional housing program. And of course, life doesn't stop when you get out of the relationship. Yes. You've mentioned that. You have to know, how do you parent someone who may be going through, both of you are going through the trauma, right? You're both going through the trauma. And on top of that, your kid might just be having developmental stages that are just normal, right? So, we need that level of support. And so we have what's called Safe at Home program that is really intensive case management service that happens once you're home, whatever that home is to you. And, making sure that you are still connected in a way that you are receiving services. We assess whatever the needs are, depending on those needs, referral linkage, and depending on what it is, there might be programs that you're still eligible for to continue on with the organization. But it's really kind of like an extension of services to ensure that we are just not leaving you on the cold now that you have your own apartment here. You're good now. No, it doesn't happen. Life is not that simple. So again, those are a lot of our major programming that we have. We do a lot of advocacy with our sister agencies. We are the largest provider in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. So it allows us to really be la voz, both at the local level, but at the state level and federal level.
That's awesome.
As it relates to the needs for domestic violence and IPV survivors.
That is a lot of information. So I super, super hope people are listening. And like I said, have pens written. I am taken back because I did not know all of that. I know a lot about women against abuse, and I've reached out to women against abuse in the past. Like but I have not known everything that you guys do. So I am learning myself. So I hope people are learning as well. I might be utilizing some of those services. I have a teenager who went through the trauma. So this is amazing. Wow, I'm like taken back because you said a whole lot, and I'm like, I'm gonna end up going back myself to the show and like writing things down. But it also is super helpful for me because this week I've actually had 2 separate clients who were looking for specific things. And I actually reached out to both today and told them to watch the show and have a pen because there were people on who were going to give them resources. So I do hope they're watching. If not, I am going to send the show to them tomorrow because I think that, Joanna, you encompassed a lot of different things. Tell us how they can reach Women Against Abuse. What is the number? What can they do? You said they can make an appointment or they can walk in. So that in itself is super helpful. Is there any constraints to their help? Like I know that with the victim witness services or Reconcilio, I know they need to make a police report so that they can get the help for that. Are there any constraints with the help at Women Against Abuse?
Not with us, not with domestic violence, whether it's court, obviously, depending on the court case, whether it's criminal case, it just depends on the circumstances, but everyone gets seen.
Okay.
And then again, identify whether we can take the case or not. Criminal courts, you could just imagine the complexities there. So it just really depends case by case. We would work to really support them. I always say that the citywide hotline is the best way. We are the, administrators, but we collaborate with Women Against Abuse. With Congreso Latinos Unidos, Women in Transition and Lutheran Settlement House. That number is 1-866-SAFE. or 723-3014. That is 24/7. And as already mentioned several times, is multilingual, over 180 languages that can be provided. We also have a chat function because we recognize that not everybody, again, with COVID, a lot of people had to isolate, and you were isolated oftentimes with your perpetrator.
Yes.
So we know technology abuse is a real thing, and sometimes they didn't have access to their cell phones. But they did have access to a laptop or a desktop. And so there is a chat function. If you go to our website, womenagainstabuse.org, there's a chat function. That function is only available from 9 to 4, 5 days a week. Otherwise, you can call our hotline. And then for our legal, you can call our hotline for anything, by the way. They'll transfer you to whatever department.
Good.
But our legal, specifically, if you know you have to speak to an attorney, this direct number is 215-686-7082. But again, if that's too much to remember, just call the 1-866-SAFE, SAFE 014.
Awesome. That is amazing. Thank you so much, Joanna. I know that you got home from work and you've had a busy day. So we do appreciate you coming on and providing.
Thank you for having me.
For our community. I know that people, do you know Wilma from Concilio? Have you met Wilma before?
I met her at an activity that they had in the yard, but no, I did not have the pleasure of, actually, that was a program. That was, ay, qué linda, Dios la bendiga. That was a program. That was one of my last grants that I was able to secure and get the program up and running before I transitioned out of Concilio. So it's glad to see the updates.
Well, there's Wilma. She's back. Let's introduce Wilma, Joanna.
Hello.
Nice meeting you. I think I actually did meet you in an activity.
Yes.
At the parking lot. But I did not have the pleasure of working with you. But it's so great to see that the program's up and running and that you're doing a great job with it. That just definitely warms my heart.
Awesome. Well, I love it to have both of you on the screen and have these resources. I do hope, folks, if you're watching, that you took great information from tonight. Wilma provided some amazing information. When I do my closing thoughts, I have flyers from Concilio and from Congreso. Women Against Abuse, we put up their website there so you guys can see it. They have such a plethora of information. We want you guys to go to their website so that you can see. If you are focused on DV needs or intimate partner violence, please go to the website at Women Against Abuse so that you can have that information. Joanna, we're going to leave the screen and give you 2 seconds to just tell them again all the information of how they can contact Women Against Abuse, the phone number, their location, and things of that nature.
Yes. So we're located at 100 South Broad Street. You can reach us at 1-800-SAFE-014, or you can reach our legal center at 215-686-7082. You can always visit our website. Toda la información está bilingüe. Ahora en español también está disponible at womenagainstabuse.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Joanna. Lo aprecio tanto. I know that you've had a long day, so I'm not going to hold you anymore, but your information was super, super important. And I hope that we will continue to, make shift and get some paths onto each other. And we're going to have that chat and chew soon so that we can talk about how we can help one another and how we can benefit from, both of what it is that we do. So have a good night, mi amor. I hope
Thank you. And thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you so much for what you do. So igualmente. See you later, Joanna. This has been phenomenal. I hope that folks have continued to stay on and listen to all of the information. Again, when I was going through my abuse, I did not know there were resources. So tonight was important so that we know that there are resources in the community. I want to bring Gabriella back. I want to get her mindset, just listening to all of this and kind of seeing what's out there and resources and kind of just getting her feeling on tonight, because she is someone who is a survivor. Like I say, a shiro. She is a victor, not a victim anymore. And I just want to know how she feels about, the services that are out there and, kind of like what life is looking like now that she has walked away from her abuse. Mi amor, we are at our closing time. It's been an hour, but I just want to give you a minute to kind of relajarte. Give me a little bit of how are you feeling listening to all these resources and, what has life been like now that you have walked away?
I'll be honest with you, it was a lot of information. I think the majority of me feels joyful because I didn't know there was services like this. And I'm in so much relief too, because I've really been struggling a lot with my children, my son especially, with trying to find somebody to help him. It's been very hard. I was able to find somebody for myself. So I have been in therapy, which has been a big help. I see her weekly and she does specialize in trauma, which is great. But this was amazing. I really hope that this will help somebody. Because I wish I would have known about these resources, but God's good. He brought me out of it. He kept me out of it. So I give him the praise for sure. But I mean, this is very, very helpful. I'm actually going to utilize some of the things that these women spoke about today because very helpful.
That's what we want to hear. So I'm going to leave you on the screen like we always do. You can give your closing thoughts, whatever it is that you want to get off your chest for our viewers tonight, as quick or as long as you want. And then I'll come back so that I can give up some updates and we can say goodnight.
Okay, well, I just hope that this was very informative for somebody. I hope that my story or my testimony can help impact someone. And these resources are there to help you, and I think you should take full advantage of them. And if anyone would like to reach out to me, I'm available as well. I wouldn't mind sharing my story or just trying to help somebody get away from the situation that they're in as well.
Thank you so much, baby love.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm going to send you to the back and then we'll say goodbye together. I'm going to give some updates, some flyers and resources from the organizations that were here. And then we're going to come back and say goodbye together. Thank you, folks, as always, for joining us, for being a part of our show. Let me tell you that almost 4 years ago, when we started this journey, I had absolutely zero idea that we will get to where we are now. I feel humbled, I feel blessed, and I just feel amazing to have the opportunity to share moments like this with all of you, because I know that we see so much negativity on social media. I call social media the devil. So, I say it all the time. Someone posted a meme the other day that said, if I didn't have a business, would I have social media? And I really think that I wouldn't, because so many people share such negative things. And I am proud to say that we share positivity for folks at least every Tuesday. You can log in on a Tuesday night at 7 p.m. and you might see me ugly cry a couple times because let's face it, I do that. I'm a crybaby. But you do hopefully receive some helpful information. Tonight was amazing. The 3 women who shared the information, I hope that you guys were writing it down. Again, if not, you can do a recap on our Facebook page. If not, you can absolutely go to our YouTube page, subscribe. We need some subscribers. Share the page. Go to our YouTube page tomorrow. The show will once again be live. You can look at any of our previous shows and get the information that you need. I hope the women that I reached out to have watched tonight and have written down the information so that you know that there are resources out there. Listen, people, our 5K has now had a date selected. You hear that music? That's my producer telling me that my time is almost running out. So I'm going to let you guys know our 5K will be on April 30th. It is a Saturday. We are working together with Concilio. We are working in partnership to bring you our 5K this year. It is going to be just as good as last year. I am telling you, once again, making this announcement, I have received 3 photos, but for anyone that is watching, please know that we are celebrating all of our lost loved ones. We want to remember them that day. We want to show them love. We want to put up posters. We want to put up banners and flyers and remember all those who have been lost to domestic violence. If you have someone that you had in your life that we have lost through domestic violence, please share their photos to me. You can send it via social media inbox. You can email me at Christina@loveshouldn'thurt.com. Send me those photos. We want to celebrate those people that you love. As per always, I'm super, super excited that tonight we had Debbie Rios watching. She is the mother of Linda Rios, who is and always will be the reason why Love Shouldn't Hurt exists. And we will continue to say her name and remember her in the best light possible. Guys, listen, you received a lot of important information tonight. We're going to put up a couple flyers. Concilio sent us their victim witness services flyer this evening. If you are, oh wow, that was not English. If you are looking for relocation services, you can reach out to Concilio at the bottom number 215-627-3100. They're located at 141 East Hunting Park Avenue. If you want more information on their victim witness services, please, please, please call or visit their website. We also have information for Congreso de Latinos. We have their flyer for their Latina domestic violence program. You can reach them at 763-8870 extension 1300. They also, as she mentioned, have a program for children who have seen their parents deal with domestic violence and have lived through the trauma. We also have that flyer for the children and that program. So please, 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 Wednesdays, 4:30 to 5:30 p.m., February 23rd through April 6th, they are going to have a kids fun time group, ages 10 to 12. We want to make sure that our kids are heard, they are listened to when they are dealing with their time of need. So thank you so much for sending that. You can contact them. And I see Joanna has put that there. Let's put that number back on the screen, Ray. Joanna has provided that number for the citywide domestic violence hotline. Reach out to 1-866-723-3014. Remember that they are 24 hours a day. Again, as Joanna said, you don't have to be ready to leave, but you may want that listening ear. We appreciate Joanna Otero Cruz, Kira Balolio, and Wilma Lebron of Concilio and Congreso. We appreciate all of you for taking your time and being here with us. We have so many exciting things happening with Love Shouldn't Hurt. We are continuing forward with forging our board, forging those individuals who want to work together for our community. We are going to begin showing our documentary again. We are starting our part 2 documentary. So women, if you are interested in sharing your story, men, we are starting that. We are also working on our Mommy and Me conference. It will be an entire day of events focused on women and their children and hearing the perspectives of respect, appropriate touching, what domestic violence is, because we think that children should learn young about what this is so that they know exactly, as Joanna said, what to expect, what are their intolerables, what they will not tolerate. That is what we are working on. Our 5K, again, is April 30th. We will be putting a flyer up soon for you to contact us and buy tickets for that day. And October 22nd, 2022 will be our next Love Gala. Thank you all for being here tonight. Let's bring Gabriella back so we can say goodnight. Thank you, mi amor, for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you. You know, I appreciate you so much and everything that you do and all that you say and everything. I appreciate you to the fullest.
No problem. If we can help one person, we've done our job. And as long as you are happy, girl, I've done my job.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
We will be here next Tuesday at 7 p.m. as we are every Tuesday evening. Join us, guys. Have a good night. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.